Hello friends, this is Growl. In this video, I'm going to explain how to best work with the Blood DK tank in Mythic Plus, including one simple thing that will open your eyes to knowing when they need help and when their health is about to shoot up to full, and that is runic power tracking. Blood Death Knights have fallen out of favor a bit in BFA, but they may see a return in Shadowlands, and I think it's really important as a healer to understand exactly how they work and what you can do to help. Tanks are not only the most impactful role, but also the hardest to find. I think developing good tank healer synergy is a great way to not only increase your success rate in keys, but also potentially find a regular group to play Mythic Plus with more. One of the most common questions I get when I'm playing with a Blood DK is, how in the world do you know when he's going to take heavy damage and be able to heal? Before we go into specifics, let's talk on a very general level about how Blood DK compares to other tanks. The two things you'll notice right away that can be a bit disorienting for healers is that Blood DK has the lowest mitigation while the highest self-healing. Tanks that take low or consistent amounts of damage are quite easy to heal because you can anticipate the damage and plan accordingly. The only mitigation a Blood DK really has, besides their items, is from Bone Shield. Bone Shield increases their armor and haste and should be up nearly the entire time. Even with Bone Shield active, a Blood DK is going to take heavy damage almost all the time, and they're going to be mostly self-healing their damage with Death Strike. Death Strike has no cooldown, and only requires that the tank has runic power and is in melee range to hit something. It heals you for a large amount of all damage taken within the last 5 seconds. This only counts damage after mitigation, however damage that is absorbed through things like Power Word Shield is included in the Death Strike healing. The more damage a DK is taking, the more they can self-heal through Death Strike. In nearly every scenario, the Death Knight's life is completely in their own hands. If they're Death Striking through the incoming damage, they can do insane amounts of self-sustain, but if they aren't, then there's no way that you can do anything to keep them alive. This makes them incredibly fun to play, but also incredibly frustrating as a healer. As a healer, you want to be able to save anybody no matter what if you play well enough, but as you move up into more difficult dungeon and raid content, you'll find that you'll have to rely more and more on your teammates to do their part if you want to get through things. That being said, there's still a lot we can do to ensure success when playing with a Blood DK. I've talked about their main way to survive, so we can already outline the two situations where our tank is going to need some help. Number 1 is when they die too quickly before they can Death Strike back up. You want to give your tank as much time as possible to react with a Death Strike before they die, and this means keeping them topped with a few hots as much as possible. With tanks like Prot Warrior or Vengeance Demon Hunter, they often have major cooldowns such as Avatar or Meta that give you windows where you don't need to worry about them as much, even if their health starts dipping. With a DK, you should always be trying to maintain some heal over time effects on them to keep them topped in between melee swings. Just a little bit of healing could add one extra melee swing's worth of time, and that could mean life or death when they have to react to all the incoming damage. Number 2 is when they don't have enough runic power to Death Strike. Up until now, I've only mentioned keeping a small amount of healing on the tank, and nothing about direct healing or externals. Once a DK tank runs out of runic power, that is when they're in danger. No self-healing combined with low mitigation spells certain death. Once you know your tank is starting to run out of runic power, that's when you want to start pumping direct healing into them to help them catch up. Death Strike costs 40 runic power with the talent Ossuary, which is always taken. Anytime you see your tank dip below 40 runic power, you should know it's time to heal. If you notice your tank is going into a pull with 0 or low runic power, you should be ready with an external immediately as well as big healing. Managing runic power can be difficult, and every tank that you play with is going to do it a little differently. Remember, the point of this video is to help you learn and understand what your tank is going through, not to criticize their ability use. You can track runic power in many ways. Any party frames that show alternative power like mana will show it, although it might not be the easiest way to view it. What I use is a weak aura that tracks the amount of runic power as a number on top of a big Death Strike icon that I place next to the tank. The icon lights up when the tank has enough runic power to Death Strike and grays out when there isn't enough. I'll leave a link to this weak aura I use in the description of the video if you guys want to try it as well. Now that you understand the bread and butter of Blood DKs, let's finish by talking about some of their important cooldowns and other abilities. Dancing Rune Weapon increases their parry chance and resource generation. Usually, it's just used on pull to build up a big bank of runic power, especially if they're going in low. Icebound Fortitude is their wall, and it gives a moderate DR along with immunity to stun effects. This stun immunity is huge, and can save their life if they end up stunned while tanking. Vamp Blood increases their max health and amount of healing received for 10 seconds. Unlike many other cooldowns, when you see this, you actually should be healing, since when they're using it, they're saying they think they're going to need a little bit of extra help. It can also be used similar to Dancing Rune Weapon just to help build up runic power. Anti-Magic Shell absorbs a large amount of magic damage over 5 seconds and generates runic power, while preventing harmful magic effects to be applied. DKs are especially strong at handling incoming magic damage, since not only can they heal through it, but also have AMS every minute. There are many things in Mythic Plus that can be immune with it, such as the debuff from Rixa Flux Flame and Motherlode. Gorefiend's Grasp and Death Grip are signature Death Knight abilities. There's not much you have to worry about them as a healer, but I thought they should be included in here as well. They can grab individual mobs towards them on a short cooldown, as well as grab all enemies within 15 yards together on a longer cooldown. This makes them even better for handling caster mobs, and is great for pugs where it may be difficult to group packs without heavy coordination. Control Undead can be used on undead mobs. There aren't a whole lot of uses for it, but in some situations it's great for reducing incoming damage in a dangerous pack that contains undead. Just be aware that every 5 minutes the monster will break free and become hostile again, and as a healer you'll generally get threat of it right away. One major weakness of BDK's kit is their speed. Many other tank classes have a way to move very quickly in an instant, like Warrior's Leap or Brewmaster's Chi Torpedo. DK tanks have a hard time getting out of harm's way quickly. They have Death's Advance, which is a small speed boost, however in many situations it isn't enough. As a healer, try to recognize when your tank needs to move quickly, as most healers have a way to help. Something like Tiger's Lust from Mistweaver can give them a little extra speed, or even just a Typhoon can give them distance from mobs or delay a cast that can potentially save a key. It might be something you aren't used to watching for if you normally play with a class like Brewmaster, but it can go a long way and will make you stand out from other healers. This wraps up everything that I think is important for a healer to know about playing with Blood Death Knights. It may seem intimidating at first, but it's actually quite simple, and if you can learn to watch their runic power and trust the death strikes, I know you'll have a much better time playing with them in keys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this content, I'd appreciate if you'd like the video and subscribe to my channel. I'll be putting out high-level Mythic Plus content for BFA as well as Shadowlands as well. Happy keying!